My next guest on the Nourish Soul podcast is Melanie Huestis. Melanie is an energy alchemist, and she is absolutely fascinating, and I absolutely love this conversation. She and I talk about the soul, of course. What is the soul from Melanie's perspective? But I also asked Melanie, how do you transmute energy? And I thought her answer was really fascinating. So the way that she works with people and helps people, I thought was very enlightening. And she had some very practical things to share in this podcast. And of course, we also talk about nourishing the soul in a very kind of practical, basic ways. So I hope you enjoy this episode as much as I enjoyed talking to Melanie. So Melanie, welcome to the Nourish Soul podcast. Welcome to the show.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I'm happy to be here.
I'm so excited to talk to you because every time you post, not only is it resonating with me, it's timely. So every time something has been, and today is no different, I just saw that your post about purpose and mission and kind of the difference. And I was like, oh, we've got to talk about that because that has been on my heart all week.
Really?
I know it's only, what day are we in? Thursday?
It's Thursday. Yeah. That's almost the end of the week.
Yeah, but all week it's really been on my heart. So I thought that was really timely. But I want to talk about all things energy and soul. And I love that you have the Alchemy Lab, which is so cool. So we'll talk about all that. But I thought we might just start by talking about what is the soul? Where, when you say that you really help people make magic at the level of the soul, what does that mean?
So that's a fantastic question. And it's one that I will share my opinion on. Well, everything that I share is my opinion. I don't believe that there is, how can anyone know? Until we die and cross over, how can we really know? Right. So my understanding is that we have what I refer to as a greater soul. And that's the big true essence of us that always stays in the ethers, in the other side, in heaven, whatever you want to call it. And that when we incarnate into human form or into another form, a piece of that comes down into the physical body. And that's what I refer to as the soul. So there is something greater than us. And I also believe there's more than one of us out here at any time. So it's always a piece that comes into the body.
Got it. So when you're working with people individually and you're helping people, I know you do Reiki, you do all kinds of energy work, I think, and even clairvoyance. So I'd love to hear about that. What is it at the soul level? So you're working with that piece that's come in, or you're working with the bigger part, or it doesn't really even matter?
I love that. It doesn't really matter because we're all connected. The piece of the soul that I am actually working with, that's who I typically work with, is connected to the greater soul. The greater soul is connected to everything that is. You and I are connected, right? So when each and every one of us, this is why I'm so passionate about people working on themselves, is because when we start to heal ourselves and love and understand us, every single other person on the planet benefits from that.
Right, 100%. And I really appreciate that, the idea of healing. So any healing we do, we're essentially healing for everyone. But I really particularly love the idea that I'm doing some work, some healing work for my kids and my possible grandkids. And I think you have kids too.
I do. I have 2 daughters.
That's girls. Yeah, I have 2 boys.
So different energy for sure.
Different energy, but I love the just the visual of healing, so that when we do our own work there, we're also actually contributing to the greater whole.
We are. And with children specifically, when we heal our ancestral lines, when we heal what is within us, I mean, if we birth them, obviously not everyone births their children physically, but when we have birthed them, they're getting all of our crap, like in the womb, they suck it all up. So we're clearing that out of ourselves. That automatically clears off our children simultaneously. It's like we take it back. But then we're also setting this beautiful example of when they run into their own roadblocks and they need to do their own healing, which they always will. They have an example that it's okay to put yourself first. It's okay to stop everything else and just take care of yourself. And I think it's those 2 pieces that create the gift that we give to them, because one or the other on its own isn't really enough.
Right. They need to see.
They need to know how.
See
right?
how it's done.
Yeah.
Right. Or have the permission to do that. That
Both.
it's okay to one being not okay, to not feel great.
Yeah.
And I think, I was really thinking about before we came on, I love the idea of perhaps this giving permission to someone to just live your life the way it is right now, that it's okay if it feels kind of crappy, or all the different feelings that you feel, that it's okay to be in that place, that's actually living your purpose. So I thought that
100%.
Yeah. So maybe we talk about purpose versus mission.
Sure. So I will say too, it's not even okay to be where you are. It is essential to be where you are. And I'm sure you can relate to this. Most people can, that when we are at that breaking point, when we are falling apart, that's where the biggest lessons come in.
Right.
And if we just kind of coast up here, right? Like, oh, everything's good. Relationships are good. Job is good. Kids are good. It's not that that's not enjoyable. That's fun. But the whole reason we come into human form is to learn, is to heal, is to shift, is to experience adversity and then overcome it. And we will never change if everything is good. Right. We'll never reach amazing or awesome or joyful if we're just sitting in good. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So we need the low points.
And that actually, as much as they suck, the low points, you're right. That's where you learn the most, where you got the fire lit under your ass to make a change. Because often we won't make a change when we're just mediocrely happy.
Why would we?
Right.
If nothing's broken, why fix anything, right?
Right. And why would you look for healing if you were, already in a state of bliss, and all the time not feeling anything but bliss?
Exactly. And I believe if we want to experience bliss 24/7, that's possible, but we sure as hell wouldn't choose to be human.
Right.
That's not why we're here, because this is not a blissful state for the most part, right?
Right. Yeah. And I think that's actually a relief to know that it's not supposed to be a blissful state all the time.
Exactly.
But just being alive is the purpose. Being human is our purpose. So if you're alive and breathing, then you are on purpose.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And this is something that it drives me bonkers. It's like a huge trigger for me, I guess you could say. Especially in my work, I hear all the time about people feeling they're not serving their purpose. They're not doing enough. They're not worthy. They just need to do more in order to have value in this world. And I forget, to be honest, where I heard it, but I remember someone said, would you ever ask a fox if they were fulfilling their purpose? Like, they are a fox. That's what they are meant to do, to be a fox. They have a role to play in a bigger ecosystem. And it's the same with humans. Again, I believe that our souls choose to incarnate in human form. And we know that being human is going to have a whole array of ups and downs and messes and joys. And that's the whole reason we come here, is to experience the whole gamut of that. So no matter where you are on that journey, at the highest point or the lowest point, you are fulfilling your soul's purpose on this planet. You are experiencing exactly what you came here to experience. And when we take ourselves out of that, it just honestly breaks my heart.
Right. Right. And so your mission could be different. Yes.
Mission. What I refer to as mission is probably what most people refer to as purpose.
Right.
Right. So our purpose is to be here, to be alive, to have whatever experience we're having, to make the best of it, to make ourselves happy, to put ourselves first. I believe that is our purpose. Our mission is what we choose to do while we are here, having that experience. And for most people, that involves wanting to help others. Maybe becoming an artist, becoming a doctor, it doesn't matter what, but we feel like there is something important we want to do while we're here. And that's what I call your mission. And I'm not saying that missions aren't important. They're very important. However, if you currently don't have one, or you don't know what yours is, or you're taking a break, that doesn't mean that you are not fully in your purpose.
Got
you
it.
still have value. If you can today get your butt out of bed, drag it to the couch, eat some Doritos and watch Netflix, you are fulfilling your purpose for today.
Mm.
And if we can give ourselves that grace and that compassion to know that I need to be here for today and that's okay, we release the guilt, we release the shame, we release the obligations, and that just creates freedom. And then you be there for such a short time because you're allowing it. And then you move out of it and you can get back to your mission if you want to or not, right? You can spend your whole life on the couch if that's what makes you happy. But it's this belief that we somehow have to prove something to someone else in order to be valuable that I think is total BS.
Right. And I think that's probably a lot of what you see in your work is helping people unravel the BS-ness of it.
100%.
Because I can feel it in me. Like I'm like, yes, you need to just sit on the sofa, permission to just lie like a vegetable, whatever. But I can feel it in me that, oh, but that's not productive. That's not going to make you feel good for long, which it probably wouldn't, because
Probably not.
I like to be doing things, but still, it doesn't have anything to do with my worth or my purpose.
Or productivity, I would say.
Yeah, that's a tough one, right?
Right.
You're in Canada, so I don't know if it's the same, but in the United States, like it's all about being productive and hustle and efficiency. And
it's the same here for sure. But it's another thing I call BS on.
Right.
Because I know for myself that, let's say I have a big project I'm working on and I have a big deadline and I need to go so that it all gets done on time. If I wake up early and drink all the coffee and push through and keep going, I'm going to get it done on time, but I can tell you it's not going to be my best work. But if I trust that whatever is needed to come through will come through in the time that I have, and then I go for a walk and get grounded and get centered and get inspired, and then I come home and I do that work, I'll get it done in an hour. And it'll be exactly what is needed. When we push, we actually are less productive.
Right. And I think some of us are in the habit of pushing.
I think most of us are.
Somewhere
it's what society wants us to do, right?
Right. We got the message that we should push. And I think that's why you see, I work with a lot of people with anxiety and depression and are completely feel like they're broken down.
Yeah.
Which I think is actually an opportunity in my experience, that a breakdown is really kind of a breakthrough.
I agree.
But I do think that anxiety, depression, just I used to think of it as kind of like a roller coaster, but a lot of my clients lately have saying they're just always commingled together. And it's this idea that, grounding is somehow not worthy of our time, or just taking a break, taking a walk, being outside in nature, getting inspired is somehow less important than, some other task.
Yeah. And I just think that's, again, what we're here for, to be inspired.
Right.
To take care of ourselves, to take that walk. Right.
Yeah, for sure. And so I'm wondering how many of your clients have changed their life to be able, to just change that completely. So they're taking more walks and they're doing more of that.
So I'd say that most people, myself included, don't change completely. We are innately flawed. We are human beings. We're meant to be that way, right? Messy. It's not meant to be neat and wrapped up. But what I see in most of my clients, and it's what I strive for myself, is being okay with wherever I am. And so right now, to be honest, I'm in a shit place and I am being cracked open and I'm at a lower spot than I can remember being in a really long time. But there is so much beauty in that. And I am learning so much about myself. And I find that whenever I go through these experiences, I'm given a gift that I can then share with the people I work with.
100%.
Right?
Right.
So there is purpose in me feeling like crap. There's purpose in me falling apart. And it's about being okay with that and understanding there's nothing wrong with me. There's nothing wrong with where I'm at. There's nothing to be fixed. I know I will get through this. I know there is beauty, there's gold in what I'm experiencing. And when I get to the other side, I'm going to be so grateful that it happened.
Mm-hmm.
So it's understanding this process. And again, giving ourselves the grace to be where we need to be. It's not that everything's perfect all the time. We don't, you don't have a session with me and boom, your life's perfect. It doesn't work that way. I wouldn't want it to work that way. But what I think my clients gain is the understanding that it doesn't have to be that way in order for you to have purpose, to feel fulfilled, to find joy, and to really be present in your life.
Yeah, I think that's really the being present is just a practice, and you just keep coming back to it to be present. I think I've been going through a really rough time as well, trying to navigate some kid stuff. And this is the first time I've really felt as bad as it feels to not know and not be able to help and all the things, to feel like this is really on purpose. This will help. It's important to our process, to mine and his. And it's also, and I don't know if I'm just hanging on to the fact that I hope to help other people at the end of this. But when you've lived long enough, you can look back and say, I'm so grateful for that horrible experience because I learned blah, blah, blah. So in this moment, to be in my life completely present, but also looking for the gifts in it. And I do find that even when I've had, my father died, when my best friend died, I could see the gifts in, it's tragic. And it was both terrible and wonderful all at the same time. And the gifts were definitely there, and they would not have come any other way. I just don't think they would show up any other way. So if you can be present, then you can catch the gifts. I guess that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think presence is important. I think what also is very important, and what you obviously have that you could do that, is you need the capacity to be able to hold more than one emotion or vibration or energy at once. It's much easier to just be happy or just be sad.
Right.
But to show up and hold the girth of more than one emotion, with me, it's usually 12 emotions all at the same time.
Me too.
You have to work towards that capacity to hold it all.
Yeah. So let's talk about working towards that capacity, because for me, that has been a real journey of alchemy. Like I would say building the container so that I had some, I don't know, some tools in my toolbox or things to shore me up so that I could, so the alchemy could take place. And that has just been this interesting process of, there was a time that it was really difficult for me to hold all of those emotions at the same time and not numb and not look to some substance or food or something. And so to be fully, for me, I'm fully in recovery. And so to be sober, riding the waves has been really powerful and interesting and great. And I don't think I could have done that without the container that I've been building for years.
Yeah, it's a lifetime's journey.
Right. Yeah. But I also am kind of like, well, for young people, I don't want them to feel like they have, oh, well, I'll get there one day. Like it's a whole journey, but you can also increase your capacity to have multiple feelings at once, no matter what age you are. Like, I don't think
if you're parented properly, you can experience that at 6 months of age.
Right.
The problem is that most children are not parented properly. I was not parented properly. I did not parent my children properly at the beginning. I didn't know any better.
Right. We didn't.
Right. And I truly believe that every parent literally does the best that they can with what they've got in that moment. But yeah, there's so many different levels that we can touch on to create this capacity. I mean, just with, again, when we're born, we need that co-regulation. We need to create safety and stability within our physical bodies so that they know how to hold, so they know it's safe to hold emotion, right? And then there's the relational aspect of surrounding yourself with people where you can, because if you're holding a bunch of emotions, you're not going to be like super pleasant to be around all the time. Let's just be honest, right? I can be laughing one moment and crying the next.
Right.
My family and friends know that that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to create the relationships that support you in exploring that.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Then there's the mental side, the mindset, the self-talk, that how we create those tools, that toolkit to get ourselves through it. And then there's the soul piece. And with the soul, we are carrying energy and wounding from our ancestors, from ourselves in other past lives.
Mm-hmm.
If we are sensitive, which I believe we all are to some degree, we're picking up the energy of the world, what's going on around us, our kids, our friends. So it's a lot to manage.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when you're calling it building that container. I think that every single one of those aspects that we can look at and work on healing and understanding, that's when our capacity starts to grow.
For sure.
But again, if we're modeled from birth how to do that, I don't think it has to be a big journey.
No, but even, just even the best of circumstances, I think, it's just challenging to parent in a way to, none of us are, I don't think, well, I'll say this is probably a better way to say it. Me doing my own work was the best thing I've ever done as a parent.
Yes.
Because, right?
Yep.
So, reading all the parenting books and teaching parenting classes is what I used to do. There's no one thing to do as a parent. It's really healing your own stuff. Mm-hmm. And continuing to do that what I would call work.
Yeah. And I believe that our children pick us specifically because of the work that we are choosing to do in this lifetime.
Yeah.
And I remember my one child, my youngest, is very connected to the spirit world, has always been. So she would tell me about her past lives and, at 2, as soon as she could form a sentence.
Yeah.
And one day she told me the story of how she picked me to be her mother.
Uh-huh.
And I said, well, I'd love to hear that. And basically what she said was she was with God and she was looking down and I seemed really scary. And that's why she picked me.
Wow.
And at the time I was like, well, I don't know if I love that. Like I thought she would say, oh, you were going to be really nice or really loving. And she said, no, you were really scary. You were dark and scary is what she said. And now, I have teenagers, so we're pretty far into this journey. I know exactly what she was talking about because I had trauma from my childhood that I could not see. I had blocked it out. I couldn't remember. And when my children were born, they brought that right to the surface.
Oh yeah. 100. Yep.
And so that's when I learned what I had been through. That's when I did my own healing.
Yep.
And now I am walking them through that with me. Mm-hmm. And that's what she meant. She didn't pick me because I was going to be the nice mom or the fun mom, because her soul had a journey and an experience it needed. Mm-hmm. And she needed to go to those dark places to get that.
Right.
And that's what I could offer her. So like when parents, specifically moms, they have this guilt and this shame and this, regret around how they have parented or decisions they've made. I just like to remind them that your child chose that. They chose you for all of the things you were going to do. Mm-hmm. And you actually didn't deny them something. You gave them a gift.
Got it. Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Well, completely to me, because it was very similar. I was pregnant with my first when I was like, I gotta get it together, because I realized all of the, I remembered my trauma, but I was like, I have got to work on this trauma from my childhood and things, so I don't keep passing it on. So that's when it became very motivating.
Great word for it.
Right. To really dig a little bit deeper in my own. And I've done all kinds of interesting healing journeys, and with a shaman out in the middle of nowhere drumming to kind of traditional psychotherapy. I've done all of it. Mm-hmm. And I've liked, all of it has been important. But I think, sometimes I believe too that we pick we've picked this life.
Mhm.
And I believe that we've picked our parents and our kids pick us. And I believe that makes sense to me. That resonates with me. And there are times in my life that I'm like, are you sure I picked this? Like,
Or why did I
or
pick?
what was I? Yeah, sometimes I'm like, okay, if this is all part of the plan, I'm gonna need some information
Mhm.
about, how to transmute this, how to heal, how to make a different, contract,
So
something.
I'd love to just say two things around that. The
Yeah.
first one is I just like to be really aware for people who have been through severe trauma. Because I believe that you chose your parents, I
Yeah.
don't believe that you deserve or chose what happened to you.
100%.
I think it's an important distinction.
I agree.
The other thing is that I think I know why we do this to ourselves, because I've asked myself numerous times, what the heck was I thinking? And the answer that I tend to get from spirit is that when our souls are not in physical form, when we are up in, we'll call it heaven, whatever you want to call it, the
Right.
other place, it's blissful, it's joyful. If we want something, poof, it's there. We manifest it instantly. There is no problem, right? Everything is the way that we want it to be. And when we're in that place, that's when we decide, do I want to come back to earth? Who do I want to be? What lessons would I like to work on? And I think that we really forget what it's like to be human, how hard it is to be human
Mhm.
when we're having a little party up there.
Right.
And so I know I do this to myself, even on earth. I'll be like, okay, I've got, 2 days without clients, and I make a list. I'm going to do this, and this.
Mhm.
It's always way more than I actually have time to get done.
Mhm.
But we like to make plans without considering our reality a lot of the time.
Right.
And I think that
Mhm.
starts when we're in soul form. And
Mhm.
then we incarnate, we come down, and it's like, oh, I really signed myself up for a lot here.
Mhm.
But the thing is, we can choose to step out of that, right? We can cancel a soul contract. We can jump
Right.
timelines. I don't even like to suggest this, but when people end their lives,
Correct.
I truly believe that that is making a choice on a soul level
Mhm.
that it's too much for right now.
Yep. Mhm. Yeah, makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah.
Definitely the things that run through my head, right? Where I think, and when we sign up, I think it's sort of a yes, we're in a place of things are pretty blissful, and we forget we're not realizing what it's actually gonna. But I don't know that we actually pick certain circumstances. We might have certain circumstances, but I feel like it's a little more general. Like, oh,
I agree.
I'd like to, I'd like to transmute anger while I'm there. And then experiences come as they come.
Yes, I
Right.
agree. I think it's a mix of what our intentions are,
Right.
and then it's free will when we are here.
Right.
And I believe, like you said, let's say it's anger. So I
Mhm.
believe that the universe will bring all of these different ways for you to learn that anger lesson.
Right.
Which ones you touch on are totally up to you, or possibly by chance. Who knows, right?
Right. Who knows? Who knows? And I completely agree with you. I really think it's important to say that the things that have happened to us were not our fault, you know,
100%. Yep.
from a trauma perspective. And we can heal, that it's
We
absolutely
can.
100%
Yeah,
possible for us to heal. And I think that's really empowering.
I agree.
Yeah.
It's also hard to see when you're in the thick of it.
Oh, it's so hard to see when you're in
Yeah.
the thick
And
of it.
that's, I know, we have both had trauma and both worked through big things. And when you're on this side of it, it's really easy to say, oh, it gets better. You can do it. There's, always a silver lining. And when you're in the middle of it, it's just kind of like, screw you, screw
Right.
that.
Right.
But if you can hang on long enough, you know what I always tell myself, when I have hit those places where I think I can't do this anymore. And I've been there several times in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And it's that decision. And the thing that keeps me here is I don't want to die, reincarnate into another form and have to do this shit all over again. Right?
Yeah.
Like, let's just
Right.
get it done.
Yeah. Let's
And
stay
never
here.
again.
Yeah. And get it done.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. I can relate to that too.
Yeah.
But I also feel like those moments where I'm just done, like I feel so lost and so unbelievably in despair. And those are the moments where I feel like grace just comes, and it will only
Beautiful.
come. Like, I can't ask for, I mean, you can ask for it, but I mean, it just seems to be kind of at the last minute, just whew, and you just, when you think you can't take it anymore.
I would say ask for it though.
Oh, I do ask.
Right. And
For
this
sure.
is the thing that I think is most important. The fact, I mean, we all, even when people will see you on social media or whatever, you know, they think you have this perfect little life, which I share all of the parts of my life specifically for that reason, because we all have those low moments and we all have the capabilities of those beautiful, blissful moments too. But if in those low points, in those on the bathroom floor, praying to God moments,
Yep.
if we can be brave enough to reach out to one other person and say, this is where I am, like, I need grace from you. I can't give it to myself. And just allow ourselves to be seen in that moment. That can be life-changing.
Yeah.
To know you're not alone. Someone else has been there and someone else will get down on that bathroom floor with you.
Right.
But we don't ask for it when we're there.
No, not usually. Right. Because you don't really want anybody to see you there.
Exactly.
And you also, I think we sometimes forget that or maybe we just don't know that people are on the bathroom floor too. In that deep, desperate place.
I don't know. Sorry.
No.
I was just gonna say, I don't know a single person in my family, in my friends, or in my client base that have not been at that place at one point in their life.
Right.
And the thing is that because we don't talk about it, we think we're different. There's something wrong with us. We're alone. But because I'm that person that will talk about literally anything, anywhere. And when I share that, I've never, that I can remember, had someone say, oh, I've never been there.
Right. Right. Of course. Yeah. So reaching out and actually asking for that grace. I agree that that's an important piece that we usually forget. And do you feel like, because you're also clairvoyant, how did you figure out that you were clairvoyant? I mean, is everyone? Do you feel like everybody's clairvoyant?
No, I firmly believe that every person has spiritual gifts, psychic gifts, has the ability to communicate with spirit, absolutely, to use their intuition, to feel energy. But I liken it to basketball. All of us, if given a basketball, will be able to get it in the net. You know, maybe if you have a physical challenge, you might need a friend to help lift you up to it. Or maybe you have to practice for 2 years before you can do it. And some people will just take the ball and immediately get it in the net. So we all have the ability, but we're born with different gifts, if you will, right?
Okay, right.
So I have never not been clairvoyant. So I can see, I can hear, I can feel, I know, I can transmute. And I grew up walking to school with my spirit guides, talking to dead relatives. I didn't know that was a normal. It wasn't until high school when people started saying, you know, that's not normal, right? And I was like, no, what do you mean? And so, yeah, I can't, it's not something I discovered. It's something that has just always been, but it was more of learning to manage and learning to use that for good rather than just have it be an exhausting energy overload.
Right. So what do you mean by transmute?
So I can change energy.
Okay.
Everything is energy, right? The body's energy, the mind is energy, the soul is energy. So because I can see it, feel it, hear it, touch it, I can change it into something different. And that's why I call myself an energy alchemist, because I can transmute that energy. And it can be done in so many different ways. And it's kind of hard to explain. But let's say I was having a session with you. I can go into your body and your body will talk to me. And maybe your bowels will say, I'm holding on because I'm scared. So I can go into that energy in your bowels and I can change it from fear to peace, for example, like shift the vibration of that energy. And then your bowels relax. And then if you've been constipated, you'll go to the bathroom. Like that's a really basic example.
Sure. And so I think I know how Reiki is different and the way that I use energy work. But I thought that might be helpful for people. So how is Reiki different from other types of energy work?
So Reiki is basically universal love. It's the energy that flows through everything and everyone. And when we use Reiki, we are not thinking, we are not pushing, forcing, changing. We are literally being that conduit. We are sitting back and allowing the energy to flow through us, then typically out of our hands. We're just the conduit. We're not trying to do anything but give energy. And with the energy work that I do, I am actually doing the work. I am going in, I'm seeking, I'm finding. Together, we're deciding what do we want to be different. And then I'm shown how to make that happen. So one is active and one is passive.
Right. And when you're shown how to make that happen, is that usually, I mean, so it's audio probably, but also visually?
So my biggest or my strongest gifts are clairsentience and claircognizance.
Okay.
So what that means is I can feel, like if we were connected, I would feel everything that's going on in your body. I don't read minds, but I would be able to know what's going through your head. And claircognizance is when I just know things. I can't explain it. I don't see it. I don't hear it. It doesn't touch me, but I just know that it's true.
Right.
So when I work, like I said, I connect to the person who is in front of me. All of their guides come into my right. So I have a little posse always here to my right. And then they talk to me. I go in and feel the energy of the body. And then often guides will come in to give additional information. And that's so between where you are, I feel your energy, your guides or helpers, ascended masters, whoever tell me this is what needs to happen. And then we go from there.
Wow. And so for the Alchemy Lab, I know you have different levels of people. So what happens in the Alchemy Lab?
So the Alchemy Lab is a sacred community, and it's only for women. I do work with men, but the community is just for women. And it is for exactly what we're talking about today. It's that safe place to show up if you're on the bathroom floor, if you've just made the biggest sale of your life and you want to celebrate with someone, and everything in between. It's partially energy healing. It's coaching. I'm also a life coach. There is somatic exercises. It's touching on all of these different energetic levels that we need to work on to, again, how you talked about that container and to build capacity.
Right.
It's all of that in one space. And the levels are simply, if you just want to show up and talk and share, there's that level. Then if you want to, I have a bunch of courses, if you want to do courses and learn more. And then the top tier is you get private sessions with me as well.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, because I saw that you had switched some things up and made it a little more accessible for people to have. Yeah. So
I just felt with what's going on in the world financially, right, that I wanted to find a way where more people, because we need this work more, a way that more people could afford to join in. And I felt that that was the way that I could drop the price and offer more to more people.
Right. Right. But you're doing Reiki healings kind of all the time, just for anybody who's.
Yeah, for free. If you follow me on social media. Yeah. But once a month, I do free Reiki. Sometimes I do card readings as well.
Yeah. That's fun.
I love it. Yeah.
Yeah. That's fun. And I think whether you believe it or you don't believe it, or it doesn't matter, if you feel like it might help to have, some Reiki energy, just to feel a little bit better is why I think. And I, will spend time pretty frequently just giving energy to wherever I feel like it might need to go. So in my meditation practice, sometimes I just sort of open it up for them just to see where the energy needs to go. And you're right, just a conduit. You're just flowing. Yeah.
And Reiki, I think, is a great place to start because it can do no harm.
Right.
Literally, it can do no harm. I have Reiki babies in the NICU up to, people passing over. It literally cannot mess up any other, healing modality or medicine or anything. So yeah, it's a really safe place to dip your toe into energy work if you're curious.
Right. And if you're just feeling pretty discouraged or maybe quite awful and you think, who knows, maybe this could help. It's a great place to dip your toe in.
I agree.
Yeah. I know we kind of touched on, feeling like everyone is born with gifts. And I love the basketball, actually. The more you are going to practice, we all get a basket. Do you have
Yeah.
any other, because I think most of the people who are listening are trying to nourish their own souls, right? They're going to be people who are like, okay, how do I align with who I really am? How do I nourish myself so that I can be as present and show up in my life? And so I just wondered, from a gifts perspective, if you have any words of wisdom to share with people about using your gifts.
So this might not be what you would expect to hear, but if you want to expand your spiritual gifts, you need to get comfortable and familiar with your body. Because although we are primarily spiritual beings having a human experience, the soul is in the body. When I hear from spirit, it has to come through my body. So if this vessel is not open and ready, doesn't matter how much you practice, it's not going to work, right? So I think it's important to start by listening to your body. So if you have to pee, go pee. If you're hungry, have a snack. If you're tired, go to bed. And people laugh at me all the time about this, but your body is trying to bring through messages. And if you keep blocking those messages by waiting to answer them, your body's not going to bring through a beautiful message from your grandmother that's passed, because you're not even peeing.
Right. Right. Yeah.
So that's where you need to start. Listen to your body, sit quietly. And I love just getting into a room with as little sensory stimulation as possible. So no music, no incense, no candles, just, quiet space, and sit, not to meditate, but to feel yourself. Right? What does my body feel like? What does my skin feel like? How does it feel to have my breath going in and out of my body? What thoughts are coming through? Just get to know you, because until you know you, how do you know it's coming through isn't your thought, isn't your ego? How do you know it's spirit?
Right.
When you're familiar, again, with this, you're very, or more easily, I would say, able to ascertain what is not you.
Right.
So start here with your body, with yourself.
Absolutely. I completely agree. That has been my experience, both professionally and personally. And I think, so many people have to reconnect. They don't even get the cues. So a lot of my clients their hunger cues are messed up. All their circadian rhythms are all messed up. And so just starting with some of the really basic kinds of things of reestablishing or honoring those rhythms.
Honoring.
Even
that's
just,
it.
like usually they do know when they have to pee. So that's a good one to start with.
Yeah, exactly. That's where I start.
Don't hold it because you think you'll wait till later or whatever. Yeah, I think that's a good one. But I also just love, I'm a big get outside person, like try to reset those. And I see that you do that pretty frequently too. Get the sunshine. Yeah. Get the sunshine on your face, get your feet on the ground and just ground yourself.
Well, and again, that is embodiment. When you feel the sun on your skin, you're aware of your body. When you feel the earth under your feet, you're aware of your body. Nature is the best way to come back to yourself.
And nature's very slow. She's not rushed. And I think that she offers some very beautiful lessons for those of us that need to work on patience.
So all of us, right?
I think there's some patient people. I just don't know many of them.
Yeah, I would say most people need to learn how to practice patience properly. And I don't even like that word because that sounds like a bit of a judgment. But sometimes you can wait too long and then get into that stuckness of inaction, right? There's that balance of having patience, trusting, being in flow, not needing to control everything. But then it's like the nervous system, right? When you're talking about how people can't necessarily listen to those messages from their body because maybe they're stuck in a freeze state, right? Or they're activated all the time.
Right.
And it's the same thing. We want flow, right? We don't want to always be anxious, but we don't want to always be calm.
Right.
And so we can come to a place where we're so patient, we stop showing up. We just expect things to be delivered to us, which that can happen, but we have to show up for it as well.
Yeah, I agree.
There's a balance.
The balance. Yeah. It's always about the balance, right? Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what we're constantly striving for, because life is always bringing us something new. So we always have to readjust.
Yes. I've seen you talk about too, like the static. You don't need a static routine, which makes sense to
No.
me. Everything is in cycles.
Yes.
So why would your routine not need to cycle?
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense to me too. So you're somebody who's always giving back to people in your work, probably, I'm guessing, as a mother and a spouse and all the things. How do you nourish your own soul?
Well, I always come first. So you're right. I do give a lot to others, but I unapologetically put myself first.
Mhm.
If I am tired, I cancel plans last minute, 10 minutes before I need to be there. And I don't apologize for it.
Mhm.
If I need to be by myself, be in nature. I was going to say, just tell everyone I'm leaving and go, but sometimes I'll just leave. I'll just walk out of the front door. They'll figure out I'm not here. I nourish my soul by honoring where I am in the moment as much as I can. I mean, we can't do that 24/7, obviously,
Right.
but I think that's the most important thing. I'm here to be me. I'm here to be a unique expression in this world. That's not right or wrong or better or worse than anyone else, but that's my job, my purpose. So I honor that by doing what feels necessary in each and every moment.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I truly think that if all of us could put ourselves first and could focus primarily on what we need, we wouldn't need that much from other people. And therefore, people wouldn't get burnt out or overwhelmed, and we could meet in a totally different way in community.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And although that's a human thing, that's, again, that you can't separate the soul from the body,
Right.
in my opinion, right? While we're here, we are beautifully entwined. And so honoring that is honoring the soul.
Right. Yeah. I think, yeah. I think for a lot of people that they don't feel like they can do that. I was just thinking about the moms with little kids and, yeah, you and I can just walk out the door. They'll all figure it out eventually.
Yeah.
But you can still put yourself first. I think it's just hard for people to think that they can.
Yes. And I totally agree with you on that. When I'm not great with babies, I really hated the baby and toddler phase, was not for me. And so you're right, it is radically different, but I would have done it much differently and probably enjoyed it a lot more had I been willing to put myself first. And what I say to my clients who are very busy, you don't have to take an hour to go meditate.
Right.
You can literally take 30 seconds.
Yes.
30 seconds and just step into this place of peace. Just block everything else out, touch your body, focus on your breath for 30 seconds. That's self-care. That's putting yourself first, and then go on to the next thing that needs to be handled. But if we take 30 seconds throughout our day, no one's going to notice a difference, right? Your baby will wait the extra 30 seconds. They have no choice. But then when you go to them, you are calmer, you are more grounded, you are focused on showing up as your best self. And it's a beautiful cycle that then you need to do it less.
Right.
And then that opens up more space.
Right.
Right. So it's not about perfection.
No.
But just finding,
thankfully.
Yeah, thank God, because I'd be failing if it was. But just finding the tiniest pockets of time where you are the most important thing. It makes a massive difference in your energy.
Right. And it's all about energy.
Yes.
It's all going to come back to energy. And the work that I do, I've really come to believe that it's all, when people are misaligned, it's all an energy crisis. So repairing, you have to put yourself first. It's not even a question of, is this selfish or should you have to, or you're not going to be able to do all the things that you need to do.
Well, exactly.
Or that you want to do.
Exactly. Yeah. And when we care for ourselves first, that capacity grows. We become better parents, better partners, better employees, better bosses, better people.
Yeah. And we're living our purpose.
Yes. Always.
Always, no matter what you're doing, you're always
exactly
on purpose. Yeah. Well, I've loved our conversation and I've loved our time. Is there anything else that's on your heart that we didn't get to that you wanted to share?
The one thing that's been really on my heart the past couple of days is just not apologizing for who you are, not making yourself small, and not changing what is important to you to make other people comfortable.
Right.
As much as you can. And it ties in with what we've been speaking about, but just trying to not alter who you are, where you want to be, or what you're doing for someone else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think that makes sense to me in the world that we're in right now.
Yes.
That there is no better time than to be authentically you and not apologize for that.
Yes.
And there's no need to change who you are so that other people are more comfortable.
Exactly.
Because,
they may fall away, those
right.
people, but
right.
that creates space for the people who love you exactly as you are to come in.
Right. Not saying this is easy, but yes.
None of it is easy. No. Not at all.
Because sort of sounded easy for a second.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's not my intention.
No, I mean both of us. Like just be who you are. Don't apologize for that. Whew, yeah.
Yeah. Start small though.
Yeah.
Like the place, you know how we talked about peeing as the place to start with your body. With saying no, I always suggest when you're in line at the grocery store and the checkout person says, "Would you like the deal of the week?"
No.
Just say no. No, I'm sorry. No explanation. Just no. Mm-hmm. That's practice. That's practice. Building that muscle. It doesn't have to be you tell your parents, all the stuff that they can't do anymore.
Yeah.
You just start with one thing and you do that one thing well, and that builds confidence and capacity and trust. And then it's just going to snowball from there. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't have to be big. No
is a full sentence.
Yes.
It does not have to be. Yeah. Anything else? Just no. I'm going to practice that because I always feel like I need to say, I gave last week, or I've already, we just say no.
Yep.
All right. Good practice.
Exactly.
Right. Well, thank you so much for your time. I've loved getting to talk to you. I love watching you on social. I think because you're a fellow keep it real person.
Yes.
And I'm a keep it real. Even if sometimes I then think I should probably take that down, but it's who I am.
And you know what I find, and this is part of why I was so excited to do this discussion with you today, that we didn't plan it. And I always find that if we just show up as ourselves in the moment, that's when I have the most people reaching out saying, I needed to hear that. Thank you for sharing that. You've helped me today. And when I try to be something or show up, it's like a total fail. No one resonates. Right?
Absolutely. Yeah. That's why I love these conversations too. If something feels right and I can feel it in my body, then I try to align it. And this was perfect. So I enjoyed myself so much. Thank you. Yeah, we'll have to keep in touch. I would love that.